So normally we would do a by match review grade like we always do. Um, it's been 2 weeks, so we're not going to do that. But we are going to just go over, overall thoughts of the show. Um, start with the undercard. Obviously, I thought something was wrong when the show first started because I'm like, I see the people. It looked like it was a sold out show. I don't hear them at all. For like the first 2 or 3 matches, they were dead. And I think it was the first tag team match they had that not the first one. The second tag team match they had kind of woke the crowd up, and then you had the Fatal 4-Way with the one with Ray Phoenix. That really woke the crowd up. They got up for that one, and then it kind of died down again, and then uh, they kind of got back up. But um, I was looking forward to the women's match. I didn't think it quite delivered. And I was here's I guess the best way to put this. I appreciated AEW and WWE watching this show because the way they're able to um direct and produce their shows, how fluid they are. Um, I get it. Jim Crockett Promotions has been around forever, but it just seemed like, especially in the women's match, there was a lot going on. Um, your girl, what's her name, got hurt. I don't know if that was real or that was a spot. Um, Ellering, she was like they kind of stopped the match for a second, and then they kept going, obviously with Jordan Grace and Deanna Purrazzo, but it was just odd, and then the match was just up and down. It was inconsistent. The Karrion Cross match was okay. Um, that's pretty much the biggest takeaways from the undercard. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did like Jonathan Gresham in his match. I thought he's fantastic. His biggest obstacle is going to be his height because he's a short guy, but he's great.
yeah, but he's not the shortest guy. So I'm hoping. I know I've heard things about him having some issues with AEW and Tony Khan, which I believe because apparently Tony Khan is rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. That's a whole nother story. Maybe we'll get to it. But yeah, I have similar impressions to the undercard as you. I wasn't familiar with some of the wrestlers, like maybe most of them I wasn't, but there were some I were. And you talked about the women's match. I do believe that injury was real. I think it was just inadvertent. It happens in wrestling, and I think that probably messed with the flow of the match. But overall, I thought some of the matches were decent. Uh, you talked about the crowd being quiet. I think it was because maybe the crowd were like us, not really familiar with some of the wrestlers. So it's just hard to get invested. And, this card was kind of thrown together just for the sake of Ric Flair. There's really no backstory to any of these matches. And so, how are you going to really be invested? It was also in an arena that held maybe about 6,000 people. It's an older arena. I'm not sure about the acoustics in there. That could have played a part. But look, obviously, the reason why we bought the pay-per-view and the reason why most of the people were there were to see Ric Flair's last match, and that was the attraction, and that's what we were all waiting for. So I think that also played a part. Is like people are like, okay, I'm glad we have these other matches on here, but let's just get to Ric Flair.
Right. Um. Yeah, that was the whole thing. Let's get to the main event. I like the cameos, the people that showed up. Your Undertaker, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Al Snow. Um, who am I forgetting? There's a lot of people there. And it was kind of easy to be there because SummerSlam was the night before, and a lot of people that were there were at SummerSlam. Undertaker was at SummerSlam backstage. So
yeah, Kid Rock was at this show.
Kid
He was
Rock,
also
Yeah,
SummerSlam, yeah. A tribute to, Ric Flair, just how everybody feels about him, how great he is. It was great to see all of those other wrestlers there paying their respects.
yeah. Um, it felt like, I don't know how you feel. It felt like Jeff Jarrett was trying to steal the spotlight from Rick because his entrance was longer than Roman Reigns. It took him forever to get out there. I don't know if they were stalling for Rick. I don't know what the problem was. That took too long. I mean, uh, anybody else would have been cold by the time he got to the ring. And I did not know. I don't know where I've been. Like I said, I'm living under a rock with Jeff Jarrett. I did not know that was Kurt Angle's ex-wife that he's married to.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't really pay attention to that sort of thing. So yeah, I had no idea.
I just knew she was fine as hell. I was like, "Who is this?" And then I learned that that was Kurt Angle's first wife. I was like,
Oh, okay.
"Oh,
It seems like a
okay."
lot of these wrestlers kind of uh look, man,
Swim
I
in the
don't know
same
quite how
circle.
to put it, but yeah, one wrestler gets with the lady, and then another wrestler later on gets with the same lady, and vice versa. It's a tough business. You're on the road all the time, and I could see how something like that could happen, man. You live in a small world when you're wrestling because you're on the road all the time, seeing the same people running in the same circles, and those things are going to happen, I guess.
Yeah. Um. No, no judgment. I just didn't know. I didn't mean Kurt
Oh
Angle's
no,
remarried. He got more kids. I think he only had the one daughter with her. But yeah, like I said, Jeff Jarrett took forever to get to the ring. Still looks great though. Still in great shape. Um. So yeah, him and Jay Lethal versus Andrade, who I liked his mask when he came out, and of course Nature Boy Ric Flair. They took the long, long pause for him to come out, which was appropriate. Um, yeah, yeah. He came out with the purple, and I don't know. So I guess we gotta get into this. So he recently stated on a podcast that he was, severely dehydrated uh before and during the match, and he passed out twice during the match. And I guess he was going trying to be as lean as he possibly could, like it was a bodybuilder show where you kind of you drain yourself of the water so you look even more ripped. And it's like, dude, maybe 30 years ago that would matter, but not tonight. The night of all nights, you need to be the most hydrated. Take it from a mailman.
yeah. And I mean, as far as him trying to get ripped, I mean, he was wearing a shirt, so I don't see why that would be a thing. And look,
Yeah.
and I probably shouldn't say this, but we all know the legend of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And all I'm saying is that alcohol is very dehydrating. So I'm just gonna say that maybe maybe there's something to that, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. After the match, he wanted to have some beer. And Undertaker caught him and said, "No, no, no. Drink these two Gatorades first, and then we could talk about the beer. You're dehydrated." Um, and you can kind of tell he was dehydrated because when he got busted open, the blood didn't look, and he didn't get the true crimson mask, and the blood doesn't run as well when you're dehydrated. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the match itself for me, because I'm gonna let you close it. I thought in the beginning he looked better than I thought he was gonna look, but as the longer the match went and the more he did, it just seemed like, yeah, this you could have got a lot more by doing less with Rick. And if he'd have been hydrated, it probably would have been better. But I think that Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett and Andrade, they did the best they could, and the crowd was into it. He still was able to do the strut. He was able to do his chops. He did the job, the blade job.
Yep.
Still,
He took a bump.
um,
I think he took a suplex from Lethal, I think.
yeah. And then all the banter with what's the promoter's name in the front row, married to his other daughter? Um, I'm talking about, the big guy. He pretty much put the show on. He was in the front row. He's married to Rick's other daughter.
It was one of the Crockett's.
No, 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 no.
Oh, no, I was gonna say they're all
Conrad Thompson.
okay.
Conrad Thompson. He is getting into Jeff Jarrett was, messing with Conrad, messing with his wife, and they were getting into it with him. And I think they were stalling because Rick had passed one of the times Rick had passed out.
Yeah.
And they were trying to cover for him, but it looked legit. Like they was really going at it. But yeah, and damn, Conrad, how'd you get some? I mean, all Rick's daughters fine. I mean, yeah, damn.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, when you got money, you the women are gonna be there.
Yeah,
The
and
looks don't
even his
matter.
ex-wife was there. His ex-wife, or two of his ex-wives, I think, were there.
Yeah, Rick. I mean, damn.
Um, at the end, I found it overall enjoyable. Um, I, obviously, I didn't have high expectations. The man hadn't wrestled in years, and he's what 70 something. So I don't expect
73.
73. I don't expect you to put on a clinic or anything. He looked better than Vince did the last time we saw him in the ring. That's for damn sure.
That was gonna be, if we were able to record right after, I was gonna ask you which was the better performance. So
Oh my God, Rick, hands down. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
at least he could sell a suplex. Vince couldn't even sell the stunner. Come on.
Mm-mm.
So yeah. Overall, like I said, enjoyable shows. It was cool. I just kind of took it as a nostalgic kind of night. It was great to have Tony Schiavone on the commentary, and yeah, it was cool.
Okay, well, we keep it real on this podcast. Everybody knows how I feel about the Nature Boy Ric Flair, my favorite of all time. I'm not saying the greatest of all time. He's my favorite of all time, but one of the greatest of all time, without a doubt. But let's just look. At 73 years old, Ric Flair had no business in a wrestling ring. So my expectations were very low, but he had absolutely no business wrestling.
No,
How he got medical approval to do this, I'll never know. I don't know if he got medical approval to do it.
this was a guy on his deathbed a few years ago.
Right. Um, he gave us all that he had. I'll give him credit for that. He gave us what he could, man. Whatever he had left, he gave it. He tried. We saw the blade job, like you said. We saw the chops. We saw a strut, whatever was left, the best strut that he could do at this stage of his career. We saw him take some bumps, but we also saw him gasping for air, sometimes unable to move and do the things that he was supposed to do. He was so gassed. It got to a point for me as a fan and as a guy who loves Rick, it was scary to watch in some moments. If this would have been a singles match, it would have been a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it was a tag match, and so you had all of the other wrestlers who you knew had the utmost love and respect for Rick, covering for him as best they could, getting him through the match. Without them, he could not have gotten through the match.
No.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard this, but well, we talked about it. Yeah, Rick claims he passed out a couple of times during the match. There are certain parts of the match he doesn't remember. I believe that because you could see it. I mean, at the end when they were trying to end the match, Rick was supposed to win by hitting either Jarrett or Lethal, one of the other guys, with brass knucks, and he is so gassed, so laid out. Andrade is doing his best to help his father-in-law, getting him the brass knucks. He was finally able to do it. Mercifully, the match ended. But look, it was hard to watch, but I do respect Ric Flair for giving us everything he had left to give. I truly do believe this was his last match. Anybody who promotes a match with Ric Flair involved at all in any way, shape, or form, as far as a wrestler, a contestant in the match, should be arrested. I'm not kidding. Ric Flair should never wrestle another. He should not have wrestled this match. The match we saw at WrestleMania 24, ideally, that should have been his last match. That was his last great match. The last match. I mean, we talked about that match already. And if you've never watched that podcast, our retrospective on WrestleMania 24, which we both attended. I highly suggest you listen to that. It's a great episode, and we talk about that match in detail.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad he got through it. And look, I'm glad my GOAT went out on his own terms. Okay. He has earned that and he deserves that. But under no circumstances should
Yeah.
Ric Flair ever wrestle again.
I 100% agree. It's crazy because he could have made a hell of a manager all these years and just could have stayed relevant, could have stayed in wrestling, just been a man, been somebody's mouthpiece and help elevate some. I guess they tried that with that awful Lacey Evans gimmick.
Yeah, she was having Rick's baby apparently.
Yeah, drop that shit.